The bridge of the TFS Resolute hummed with the low, steady pulse of advanced technology. Fleet Admiral Kalen Thorne stood at its center, a pillar of resolve amidst the controlled chaos. Holographic displays flickered with data, but all eyes were on the massive, translucent image of Supreme Commander Zarkath Voss, hovering menacingly before them. Tribute or annihilation, Admiral. Choose wisely. Voss's voice was a cold, sharp blade cutting through the tense air. His sneer of superiority was unmistakable, a common trait among those in the Galactic Empire's upper echelons. Kalen's eyes narrowed, his jaw set in defiance. Humanity doesn't bow to tyrants, he declared, his voice unwavering. The bridge fell silent, the weight of his words settling like a shroud over the crew. Voss's sneer deepened. You underestimate the power of the Empire, Admiral. This defiance will cost you dearly. The transmission ended, Voss's image dissipating into nothingness. The room buzzed with a mix of fear and determination. Kalen turned to his senior officers, his gaze sharp and calculating. Options? He demanded, breaking the silence. Commander Evalu, his second-in-command, stepped forward. We can't match their numbers head-on. We'll need to use every tactical advantage we have. Kalen nodded, his mind already racing through possibilities. We know the local space better than they do. The asteroid belt around Aurelia Prime could give us the cover we need for hit-and-run tactics. Commander Jackson Hayes, the fleet's chief engineer, chimed in. We could rig the asteroids with proximity mines. Force them into a kill zone. A murmur of agreement rippled through the room. Kalen's eyes sparkled with a fierce determination. Then that's what we'll do. We make them chase shadows. Hit them where it hurts, and retreat before they can respond. The officers dispersed, each one focused on their assigned tasks. Kalen watched them go, pride swelling in his chest. They were a diverse group, each bringing their own strengths to the table, united by a common purpose. He turned back to the main console, activating the ship-wide intercom. Attention, all hands. This is Admiral Thorne. The Galactic Empire has demanded our submission, but they will find that humanity does not yield. We fight for our freedom, for our future. Stand ready. We launch in 1 hour. The ship echoed with a chorus of affirmatives, the crew's resolve palpable. Kalen took a moment to breathe, his thoughts briefly drifting to his family back on Earth. He had promised them he'd return, and he intended to keep that promise. An hour later, the fleet assembled, a collection of sleek, formidable warships gliding through the void. Kalen stood on the bridge, a silent guardian watching over his people. All ships execute Delta formation. Maintain radio silence until we engage. The fleet moved as one, a testament to their training and discipline. As they neared the asteroid belt, the tension mounted. Kalen's voice cut through the silence once more, calm and resolute. Remember, every move we make counts. Stick to the plan, and we'll come out of this stronger. The Resolute slipped into the cover of the asteroids, the rest of the fleet following suit. Kalen watched the sensors intently, his heart pounding with anticipation. The first Imperial ships appeared on the edge of the display, their ominous silhouettes a stark reminder of the threat they faced. Kalen's grip tightened on the console. For humanity, he whispered, a quiet vow to himself and his crew. The battle was about to begin, and he was ready to lead them through the storm. The TFS Resolute drifted silently among the asteroids, its sensors scanning the void for any sign of the approaching enemy. Fleet Admiral Kalen Thorne stood on the bridge, his mind a whirlwind of strategies and contingencies. The Imperial fleet would be upon them soon, and every second counted. Status report, Kalen ordered, his voice steady. Commander Evalu glanced up from her console. All ships in position, Admiral. Proximity mines are set. We're ready to spring the trap. Kalen nodded, his eyes fixed on the holographic display. Good. Remember, timing is everything. We strike hard and fast, then disappear. The door to the bridge hissed open, and Chief Engineer Jackson Hayes stepped in, wiping his hands on a grease-stained rag. The mines are primed, sir. They'll give those Imperials a nasty surprise. Kalen allowed himself a brief smile. Excellent work, Jackson. Let's make sure they regret underestimating us. Across the fleet, the crew members readied themselves for battle. In the Resolute's hangar bay, pilots ran final checks on their fighters, while engineers secured the last of the proximity mines. The air was thick with anticipation, the tension palpable. In the mess hall, a group of soldiers gathered, their faces a mix of determination and anxiety. Sergeant Elena Morales, a seasoned veteran, addressed her squad. "Remember why we're here? We fight for our families, our friends, our future. We fight for humanity." A murmur of agreement swept through the room. Private Sam Harper, the youngest of the squad, clenched his fists. "For humanity," he echoed, his voice filled with resolve. Back on the bridge, the sensors beeped, alerting Kalen to the presence of the Imperial fleet. "They're here," he announced, his tone grim. "All ships, prepare to engage." The void lit up with the thrusters of the Terran ships as they moved into position. The first Imperial vessels entered the asteroid field, their sleek forms cutting through the darkness. Kalen watched intently, waiting for the perfect moment. "Now," he commanded. The proximity mines detonated, filling the space with brilliant explosions. The Imperial ships reeled, their formation shattered. Kalen's fleet sprang into action, fighters darting out to harry the disoriented enemy. "Hit them hard," Kalen urged. "Don't give them a chance to regroup." The Terran ships weaved through the asteroids, their coordinated strikes wreaking havoc on the Imperial fleet. Kalen's strategy was paying off, but the battle was far from over. As the Imperial dreadnought loomed on the horizon, Kalen steeled himself. This was just the beginning, and he knew the real fight was yet to come. The space around Aurelia Prime erupted in a cacophony of light and sound as the Terran fleet engaged the Imperial forces. Fleet Admiral Kalen Thorne stood on the bridge of the TFS Resolute, his eyes locked on the holographic display. The battle had begun in earnest, and every decision he made could mean the difference between survival and annihilation. "Execute Delta Formation," Kalen commanded. "Keep them off balance." The Terran ships moved with precision, their formations shifting like a well-rehearsed dance. They darted in and out of the asteroid field, using the natural cover to their advantage. The Imperial fleet, larger and more heavily armed, struggled to adapt to the hit-and-run tactics. "Admiral, we've disabled 3 of their cruisers," reported Commander Ava Liu, her voice taut with concentration. "Excellent," Kalen replied. "Keep up the pressure. Don't let them regroup." On the enemy flagship, Supreme Commander Zarkath Voss watched the battle unfold with mounting frustration. "Crush them," he snarled to his subordinates. "Show these upstarts the might of the Empire." The Imperial fleet responded with a massive counterattack. Beams of energy lanced through the void, and explosions dotted the battlefield. The Resolute shuddered as a near miss rocked the ship, but Kalen stood firm, his focus unyielding. "Divert power to forward shields," he ordered. "Prepare for evasive maneuvers." The Terran fleet continued to strike with surgical precision. Despite their smaller numbers, their superior tactics and coordination began to show results. The Imperial ships, unused to such unconventional warfare, faltered. "Admiral, the dreadnought is closing in," warned Lieutenant Daniel Shaw, his face pale but determined. Kalen's eyes narrowed as he studied the massive vessel on the display. It bristled with weapons, a fortress in space. "All ships, focus fire on the dreadnought's shield generators. We need to bring it down." The fleet responded with a coordinated barrage, beams of energy converging on the dreadnought. Its shields flared, struggling to absorb the relentless assault. Kalen watched intently, his heart pounding. "Keep at it," he urged. "We're breaking through." Just then, the dreadnought unleashed its devastating weapon, a pulse of energy that vaporized one of the Terran cruisers. The loss was a heavy blow, and the crew of the Resolute fell silent, the weight of the battle pressing down on them. Kalen clenched his fists, his mind racing. "We need to disable that weapon. Prepare a boarding team. We're taking the fight to them." As the Terran fleet continued to hold the line, Kalen's daring plan took shape. The battle was far from over, but the spark of hope remained. Humanity's resilience and ingenuity would be tested, but they would not back down. The TFS Resolute shuddered under the relentless onslaught of the Imperial dreadnought. Fleet Admiral Kalen Thorne's face was set in grim determination as he coordinated the fleet's defense. The massive enemy vessel's weapon had already claimed one of their cruisers, and it was clear they needed to act quickly. "Boarding team, status report," Kalen demanded over the comms. "Ready and waiting, Admiral," came the reply from Sergeant Elena Morales. "We're geared up and set to breach." "Good. Get in, disable that weapon, and get out." "We're counting on you," Kalen said, his voice steady. The boarding craft launched from the Resolute, streaking towards the dreadnought under the cover of the ongoing battle. Inside, Elena and her team prepared for the imminent fight. Each soldier's face reflected a mix of resolve and anticipation. As they approached the enemy ship, Lieutenant Daniel Shaw's voice crackled over the intercom. "We've cleared a path. Good luck, team." Elena nodded to her squad. "This is it. For humanity." The craft docked with a jolt, and the boarding team poured into the dreadnought's corridors. They moved with practiced efficiency, taking down any Imperial soldiers that stood in their way. The stakes were high, but the team's focus never wavered. Back on the Resolute, Kalen watched the battle unfold, his mind split between the larger conflict and the boarding team's progress. "Shields at maximum. Divert all available power," he ordered. The dreadnought's weapon could fire again at any moment, and they had to be ready. Inside the dreadnought, Elena and her team reached the control room. "Plant the charges," she instructed, her voice a calm command. Private Sam Harper moved swiftly, setting explosives around the weapon's power core. "We've got company," shouted Corporal Jackson Hayes as a squad of Imperial soldiers stormed the room. The Terrans fought fiercely, their determination shining through. Elena's mind was focused on one goal: buy enough time for the charges to be set. "Charges are ready," Sam called out, his voice tight with urgency. "Fall back," Elena ordered. The team retreated, fighting their way back to the boarding craft. The dreadnought's corridors were a blur of blaster fire and shouts, but they moved with precision, every step calculated. As they reached the craft, Elena hit the detonator. A series of explosions rippled through the dreadnought, its weapon disabled. The team barely made it back to the craft as the enemy ship shuddered from the internal damage. "Mission accomplished, Admiral," Elena reported as the craft sped back to the Resolute. Kalen's relief was palpable. "Excellent work. All ships, focus fire on the dreadnought. It's time to end this." The Terran fleet unleashed a coordinated assault. With its primary weapon disabled, the dreadnought's defenses crumbled. As the enemy vessel began to break apart, the Terran forces pressed their advantage, driving the remaining Imperial ships into retreat. Kalen watched the sensors as the last of the Imperial fleet disappeared into the void. They had won this battle, but the war was far from over. He knew they'd face greater challenges ahead, but for now, they had shown the galaxy that humanity would not be subdued. The TFS Resolute floated silently amidst the wreckage of the battle. The once chaotic battlefield was now eerily quiet, the debris of Imperial and Terran ships alike drifting through the void. Fleet Admiral Kalen Thorne stood on the bridge, his eyes scanning the holographic display that showed the extent of their victory. "We did it," Commander Ava Lu said softly, a mixture of relief and exhaustion in her voice. Kalen nodded, though his expression remained somber. "Yes, but at a cost. Let's start damage assessment and rescue operations. We have people out there who need us." The bridge crews sprang into action, their movements driven by both adrenaline and duty. Kalen's mind raced through the events of the battle, the losses they had suffered, and the hard-won victory. He knew this was only a single clash in a much larger war, but it was a crucial one. "Admiral," Lieutenant Daniel Shaw interrupted his thoughts. "We're receiving a transmission from the surface of Aurelia Prime. It's the planetary governor." "Put it through," Kalen said. The holographic display shifted to show Governor Elena Markov, her face etched with relief. "Admiral Thorne, on behalf of the people of Aurelia Prime, thank you. Your bravery has saved countless lives." Kalen inclined his head. "We fight for all of humanity, Governor. Aurelia Prime is not alone. We'll ensure the Empire knows that wherever they threaten, we will stand against them." Markov's eyes shone with gratitude. "Your words give us hope, Admiral. We're ready to aid in any way we can." "Your support will be invaluable," Kalen replied. "We'll coordinate relief efforts and bolster your defenses. This victory is just the beginning." As the transmission ended, Kalen turned to his crew. "You've all done incredible work today. Take a moment to breathe, but stay sharp. The Empire will strike back, and we need to be ready." In the mess hall, the mood was a mixture of celebration and reflection. Sergeant Elena Morales and her squad shared stories of their daring raid on the Dreadnought, their camaraderie strengthened by the shared experience. Private Sam Harper raised a glass. "To humanity. We've shown them what we're made of." Cheers echoed through the room, the soldiers drawing strength from their victory and from each other. They knew the road ahead would be difficult, but they also knew they could face it together. Back on the bridge, Kalen stared out at the stars, his resolve unwavering. "Commander Liu," he said, "prepare a report for Earth Command. They need to know what happened here and what we're up against." "Aye, Admiral," Ava replied. "And the fleet?" "Repair and regroup," Kalen answered. "We'll need every ship ready for the next engagement." As the crew worked tirelessly to ready the fleet for whatever came next, Kalen allowed himself a moment of quiet reflection. They had faced the might of the Galactic Empire and emerged victorious. It was a testament to humanity's indomitable spirit. "We fight for our freedom," he whispered to himself, a quiet vow that resonated with the core of his being. "For our future. For humanity." The battle was over, but the war continued. Kalen Thorne and his fleet would be ready, their hearts and minds united in the cause. They had sent a message to the Empire and to the galaxy: humanity would not be conquered.